What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of Truck Talk, brought to you by me, inspired by my man, Chili. Thank you guys for being here this morning, or whatever time it is where you are. I told you guys a while back, the point of these Truck Talks is usually to make you think, but sometimes the point is to maybe educate you on something that I guess you could say, a subject matter expert in. And that would be today's episode. Is going to be more educational, and it's going to be about preparedness. Now, I'm not talking about being paranoid. I'm talking about being prepared. I think we can all agree that coming up here in a few months in November, whichever side loses this presidential election, they're not just going to let things just, be. Whichever side loses is going to make things difficult for us at our expense in order to accomplish their agendas. Now, maybe you don't agree with that. Maybe you don't believe that. Well, you can freaking just go continue living in the hole that you live in. And I believe that come November, times are going to get a little wild. And I think it's only sensible for you, especially if you're a man with a wife or with children, I think it's only sensible for you to make a small investment into the preparedness of your family unit. All right? Doesn't cost a ton of money. And I'm going to talk to you guys about 3 things today that I believe are important that maybe you haven't thought about, because the big ones everyone thinks about: guns, ammo, freeze-dried food, all that good stuff, right? And all of those are good things to have, for sure. But because I have spent so much time in the backcountry, because I spent a lot of time in the Navy, traveling all over the world in weird places, and I kind of have an understanding of the things that you want to have when you exit modern convenient society. All right? And that's what I want to share with you today. The first one, I told you, everybody talks about food. Well, nobody really considers water. And what you'll realize when you exit the modern conveniences of society and your little faucet that you can go turn on and get water, what you realize is you start needing water and you start wanting to find water way before you're concerned about food. All right? Happens really quick. And a lot of you guys, especially if you're living in urban environments, you don't know where your nearest water source is. And you don't know what condition that water source is in either, if it's even drinkable. Now, more than likely, it's not going to be drinkable straight out of the source. More than likely, it's going to have to be filtered. But it's a possibility, depending on how urban it is, where you live. It could be full of chemicals and oil and nasty stuff that can't be filtered, and it could potentially be totally undrinkable. So it would be wise of you to take a little time and do a little reconnaissance of your area and find the nearest water source that you could filter from, that you could draw from, because you're going to want it real quick, and you're going to need it for a lot of things, obviously. But we're so used to having it, we don't understand that it's hard to get. And when you get it, if it needs to be filtered, it takes quite a bit of time to do that. And so that's another thing as we talk about water. It's not only doing a recon of your nearest water, your nearest most convenient natural water source, but also a way to purify that water. I get all of my water I collect it from a spring, and I've found that about 30 gallons of water will last my wife and I about 7 days. So that'll just give you a general estimate there. That's drinking it and cooking with it. That is not showering or washing dishes or any of that stuff that I'm not going to be doing if I'm trying to conserve water anyways. Just drinking with it, drinking it and cooking with it. About 30 gallons. That lasts me about 7 days, me and my wife. So give you a little estimate. Now, the next piece of this, moving on from that, I just talked about how to purify that water. Obviously, you can filter it or you can boil it. So that leads me into the next thing that you probably haven't thought about if you want to be prepared for whatever might come is fuel. All right, and that's all types of fuel. You don't think about that because you can just go turn your stove on and cook or boil water or whatever it is. And or you can just run down here to the gas station and fill your vehicle up with gas or whatever. You need to think about the types of fuel that you consume. Most of us, it's gasoline or diesel in terms of our vehicles or ATVs. And you need to have some of that fuel on hand, stockpiled. And you need to have that fuel either treated to where it doesn't go bad, or you need to find some ethanol free. Other types of fuel to use for cooking. A lot of you guys are on electric. And in urban environments, if you start to look around you, you realize there's not that much stuff to burn. And what there is there that you could burn, that you could make fire with in order to purify water or to cook with, it would get used up literally within hours once people realized they needed it. All right. So fuel, whatever types of fuel you consume, you need to have some of it there. And as far as cooking goes, if it's as simple, maybe you don't have room to stack firewood or fire logs or something like that, it could be as simple as you going out and buying a couple Jetboil stoves and having some, a couple of 10 butane canisters to run those stoves with. But a way to produce heat and to cook and purify water is going to be very important. So fuel, consider that. What do you use? And you need to get you some. We have a large tank of fuel, gasoline that is, and it's all ran off of solar. And we also have a large tank of fuel that we use for cooking. You're going to want it real quick. And the last thing is consumable items. I've talked to you guys about this before. No one considers it. But they're going to become extremely valuable. And when I say consumables in the military, that was the word that we used for things like batteries, zip ties, duct tape, you name it. Think of all the little things. Batteries are a huge one, by the way. Batteries will become so valuable so quick, especially if the power goes out. I mean, they'll be like freaking gold, dude, because that's the only lighting that you're going to have. Battery-powered lighting. But think about all of those things, because all of those things, those consumable items that you take for granted, are one, going to make your life easier if you have them, and two, they are going to become extremely valuable in terms of barter if you needed to have those things to barter with for other resources that you may not have or that you may come short on. Now, that being said, we're talking about short-term preparedness here. All of these things, obviously, you're not going to be able to stack enough fuel to last you for the rest of your life. You're not going to be able to have enough food to last you the rest of your life, or batteries, or any of that stuff, right? We're talking about something short-term, and that's the way that you guys should be thinking. Because for a lot of you guys, that's your only option, is you can prepare yourself to the point that you could sustain you and your family's basic needs for, let's say, a month. That's a good goal to shoot for. Because you just don't have the space, and all of that stuff's going to run out. And quite obviously, if you're serious about creating a self-sufficient lifestyle, that's probably going to require you to make an investment, to move somewhere, and to have a piece of land that you can work, that you can set up, and be able to be sustainable long term. And that should be something that all of us with the means to do so should be moving towards. The last thing I will say is the most important thing that you can possibly be acquiring right now is training, because that will last a lifetime. If you're learning skills, if you're learning how to critically think, if you're learning how to lead, if you're learning how to live out in the backcountry, that stuff will last you a lifetime, and nobody can take it from you. So right now is the time, actually, it's always the time to be acquiring skills. And we teach stuff like that here at 307 Project. You can find it on our website. It's called the Basic Course, or the Rite of Passage, or the Proving Grounds, where we teach you a ton of skills, and also how to lead and be led and communicate, and all of those important skills that are going to help you in stressful times. If you are in a neighborhood, the best livestock that you can have is chickens, man. That's a whole nother conversation. Maybe I'll do a whole video on chickens, why they're so awesome. Anyways, I hope this made you think about some things. And if you are listening to this and realizing that you are totally unprepared for some event that interrupts our modern conveniences, I hope this encourages you to maybe think about it, maybe make a small investment in your preparedness, maybe get some training, and do your job, man. Do your job as a husband, as a father, as a provider. That's really the goal of this episode. If you got anything out of it, go get you a hat, get you a t-shirt, man. It means a lot to me. You guys are the reason that we're able to keep this YouTube channel up and running and do the things that we do. You guys are a big part of that. You guys who watch and subscribe, and you guys who support us with your hard-earned money by going and getting a hat or a t-shirt and repping the gear all over the country, man. It means a lot to me. And at a minimum, share this with somebody who might need to hear it. I love you guys. I hope you're doing well. I'll catch you on the flip-flop. Nuff said.